Um, I just want to go and cover just another area of what potentially might be happening in the future and the policies that might change society. Now, a lot of governments around the world want to get rid of cash and make it a cashless society, and potentially that leads to that kind of situation where you might have a Cyprus lockdown. You could have like the introduction of the SDR, and the main one is that you can start charging people negative interests, so you're almost forcing people to actually spend money. Do you see any of those draconian measures being put in place?
Unfortunately, because conventional economists run treasuries and run central banks, yes, there's a danger that will happen. And I think it's absolutely insane because the whole reason they're doing it is because they believe they can actually motivate people by negative interest rates on deposits. And the reason they can't do that right now is because if you started getting a negative interest rates on your deposit account, you'd take your cash out. And if they ban cash, then you can't take it out. You're stuck with just using the banking sector. And whoopie-doo, they think they can impose negative rates on you. That is insane. That is economic theory taken to its absolute mad extent. And to some extent, I hope they do it just because it'll point out what morons, not morons, they're intellectually smart people with a stupid idea.
Yeah.
What moronic ideas we're being driven by. And that's one of the reasons why I'm campaigning to change economics, that crap like this doesn't become government policy. But what's happening right now is because they believe that people aren't spending for some inexplicable reason, and they want to stimulate spending by negative rates on deposit accounts, that's why they're trying to ban cash. But actually what's happening, they're putting negative rates. A country like Switzerland in particular has, I think, its rate on reserve deposits. So the rate the central bank pays for the reserve deposits that the private banks have at the central bank is minus 0.75%. Now, they thought that would lead to the banks themselves, with their customers, charging negative rates on their deposits. Any bank that did that would lose its customer base straight away. So rather than that happening, the banks thought, well, how can we actually compensate for having an asset on our books, the reserves, which is actually giving us a negative return now? Simple, we'll increase the return we get on the positive assets, like, for example, our mortgages. So the response to the banks in Switzerland, the negative rates on reserves, has been to put up mortgage rates, which of course has reduced private spending.
Yeah.
Now, this is the sort of nonsense they're caught out, and they think, oh, well, how do we stop that happening? Let's ban cash. I mean, bloody hell. I mean, in some ways, go ahead and do it, because that'll get me the Nobel Prize for shutting these bastards up and getting some sensible economics out there.
Yeah, because obviously people see this situation where governments are going to potentially move in this direction. Do you see that people might leap towards the virtual currencies, decentralized currencies?
Mm.
And do you think governments might go to war on those as well?
This is one of the dangers, because one of the reasons that people get into stuff like Bitcoin is it's seen as an anti-state thing, and they blame the state for the nature of the financial system and its current crises. And given the fact that neoclassical economists are responsible for making up these policies in the first place, they've got a good argument. So if the governments were stupid enough to follow the advice of their mainstream economists and ban cash, then that would instantly drive people to get their money out of the banking system into some non-bank, non-state affected form of money, which